From the resources sector focused on the earth below us, to the space industry looking to the sky above us, along with businesses in agriculture, education, technology, tourism, infrastructure or investment, it was a tour de force on deepening the economic ties between our nations. And it was a tangible demonstration at what ultimately proved to be one of the most sensitive of times of our commitment to deeper and stronger Australia-India ties. Friends, as many of you will have heard before, the incredible wordsmith Mark Twain described India as the cradle of the human race, the birthplace of human history, the grandmother of legend and the great-grandmother of tradition. His praise was correct, yet in a modern context falls short. In 2025, India is also a growing giant of influence, a fast-moving driver of prosperity, and a critical anchor to security. Australia is fortunate to call India a friend and a partner. We are even more fortunate to share common strategic interests in securing the peace and stability of our shared Indo-Pacific region. Together, we have each benefited enormously from being in the world's most dynamic region, home to more than half of the world's population and nearly 2/3 of the global economy. Our Indo-Pacific region has been the engine room of global growth. Growth matters because it delivers real outcomes. It lifts people out of poverty. It extends educational attainment. It improves living standards. These are the things that matter. And India's growth has not just improved prosperity for her own people, but across our region. Australia rightly looks to India as a driver of further growth, to our benefit as well as to India's. But alongside this growth in economic prosperity, so too have the threats to stability grown. Military spending in our region has surged, and with it, the proliferation of new capabilities. Most troubling, the use of aggressive and confrontational tactics by the Chinese military has increased the risk of miscalculation or escalation. Australia, like India, wishes to see stability and respect for maritime laws, whether in the Western Pacific or in Southeast Asian waters or across the Indian Ocean. More than half of Australia's maritime exports leave our shores via Indian Ocean ports. Nations that border the Indian Ocean are critical to our various trade relations. And these are some of the reasons why our nations, Australia and India, must continue to draw closer, to enhance our economic strength and to deploy the tools of statecraft to deter conflict or undue control within our region. No lesser than Robert Menzies, Australia's longest-serving Prime Minister and founder of the Liberal Party, who I represent in this Parliament, stated in 1950 that the world would be profoundly affected by what happens in India and that our nations should learn to think together for the world's peace. 70 years on, the last Liberal government was true to the ambitions of our founder. The breakthroughs of our Liberal-led government from 2013 to 2022, working with Prime Minister Modi's government, give us the strong platform that we share today. Indeed, Foreign Minister Jaishankar spoke of that great transformation that has occurred in our relationship. Together, our governments deepened the scope for cooperation across the Indo-Pacific by re-establishing the Quad, shifting it to leader-level dialogue, working there with India and our shared partners in Japan and the United States. Together we signed the Australia-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership, giving the platform and structure for deeper, richer engagement. Together we secured the Australia-India Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, providing a launching pad for our industries. The joint declaration on a shared vision for maritime cooperation in the Indo-Pacific, made by Prime Ministers Morrison and Modi, speaks to our common aspirations for peace, security, stability and prosperity in our region, especially on its waters. It underscores our commitment to the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. It demonstrates the primacy we place on working with ASEAN nations to secure our aspirations. It provides another basis for our military cooperation, including through bilateral and multinational joint exercises. It is future, and indeed I do pay great tribute to all members of Prime Minister Modi's government, but in particular Foreign Minister Jaishankar, who has been so central to those various breakthroughs and is such a welcome and frequent visitor to our shores. With an election due soon in Australia, I want to be clear that a future Liberal-led government would work with our Indian partners, as we so successfully did before, to drive our relationship forward. Together, our nations have great strategic influence. We can further bolster efforts to deter conduct that could destabilise our region, while maximising engagement that furthers the economic growth we desire for all of our citizens. In trade, innovation, education, and the challenges of our time, such as climate change, we can and we must make further breakthroughs. This gathering, Raisina Down Under, brings together so many of those who are central to these ambitions. You will shortly move into panels in fields where responses to security, economic and climate challenges are intensely aligned. Discussions in fields such as critical minerals and critical technologies. These are the types of areas where we must further integrate our supply chains, share our technologies, and maintain ambition for a comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. I look forward to hearing your recommendations on how in these fields and others we boost two-way investment growth, further the depth and benefit of those people-to-people exchanges, harmonise standards where we can, embrace digital trade efficiencies, and ultimately bring our two great nations even closer together. Friends, thank you again for the opportunity to be with you today. I welcome very much this dialogue, this opportunity, and indeed the questions to come in the short time we have available. Thanks so much. And I see a chair with my name on it over there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you, Senator. This has been for your really thoughtful remarks, and I think that's a very, very comprehensive one. In the interest of time, I think we are going to move past to the next panel, the second panel for the day, which is going to be on minerals, materials and markets, the green transition and action. I would now welcome, sorry? Oh, it's good. My apologies.
Any which way.
Okay.
I know we were running late to start with.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. So let's go with that, absolutely. So let's take a couple of them very quickly to one round of questions, and then we move it. So can we get some hands up here from the audience? Okay, while the audience is warming up, I think I'll start with one very quick question. I think we did hear from the ministers just before on how India-Australia relations are shaping up, also the broader Indo-Pacific minilaterals that are shaping up. What, in your view, looks like the future? You did lay out, but if you could maybe somewhere talk about some of the minilaterals that we can see in the region. Quad is the most prominent one, but what else do you see in terms of some of the other trilaterals and other minilaterals that are going to be shaping up? And of course, if you want to touch upon the US elections, we are still far away from the election results, but yeah, if you do want to.
Look, we all await those results, and ultimately, what I will touch there quickly first, what I think we demonstrated under the first Trump administration, but also under the Biden administration, was how, by working carefully with targeted partners, we really could affect outcomes of bilateral benefit and of greater benefit in terms of US posture and policy. And continuing to do that, I look to how we, during the first Trump administration, worked so closely with Japan.
Yeah.
And perhaps that was a forerunner to then bringing the Quad together as we did and being able to establish that.
That's right.
But obviously, in terms of those minilateral opportunities and the approach we take, coming right back into within our own Indo-Pacific region, Australia has the oldest long-standing relationship in terms of a partnership as a dialogue partner with ASEAN. And I think our work that we can do there, building, as Penny rightly acknowledged before, on our investment ambitions that can really leverage both our countries and both our desire to invest and to grow in that region. But equally beyond those ASEAN shores, Australia sees growing relations at present with economies and businesses in Nepal, in Bangladesh, in areas where we absolutely can learn and benefit greatly from working closely with India to ensure that those are relations that take the broader thrust of the Indo-Pacific and achieve those ambitions.
Absolutely. And I think that like the previous panel said, okay, Samir does have a question, so let me just give it to him. Okay.
Hi. I have a question. I couldn't ask the ministers that question, so I'm asking you. I didn't have enough time. No, I
it
think
better be an easy one if you didn't ask the minister, but you're asking me.
No. It's related to the conversation this morning, but and to just something that you mentioned in your speech. I want to focus on two countries and how India and Australia can partner with them. One is Indonesia, and we've seen again a breakout relationship between India and Indonesia in the last few years. The trade relationship is robust and it's booming, and you guys have a very old relationship with that country. Is there a trilateral, is there a deeper relationship that can emerge? And the second is what happened yesterday. I think you have signed an agreement with the UAE, and UAE and India are like, in some sense joined at the hips. Our growth is convergent. We are growing together as geographies. So is that another relationship where we should be thinking about perhaps joining up, teaming up, and trying to see what can be done together? So India, Australia, UAE, India, Australia, Indonesia. Two ideas for you to think about.
Thank you. And I think they're two really important ideas. You're right, we do have a great, and I think now very mature relationship with Indonesia. Mature at a diplomatic sense, mature at a government level, yet still insufficient in terms of our economic ties. And it's actually very important to Australia that as we see the huge opportunity in the Australia-India relationship, we don't have Australian businesses see Indonesia as a flyover destination. We need to make sure that we are harnessing that opportunity of what is a nearer neighbour, a fast-growing young population that has enormous economic potential itself. And there is potentially enormous opportunity to change and fix perhaps some of the challenges we have had in getting economic lift-off between Australia and Indonesia, to look at more partnership opportunities and to do so in that economic space. But then also, when we contemplate how we ensure that stability in our region, there is so much that India, Indonesia and Australia have in common in wishing to preserve that maritime stability and security, and potentially exploring areas for joint cooperation to do so. So I think that is a very profound and very important opportunity for three G20 economies within this South Asia region to be able to do so. In terms, and having now gotten so carried away in talking about Indonesia, the other suggestion, it was the UAE. The UAE. And this is an area where economically, due to the investment surge happening across the Middle East, my sense is that unlike Indonesia, where my frustration is perhaps that we haven't got commerce to the level that government is, it's perhaps the reverse in relation to Middle East. And so the trade breakthrough with the UAE is an important one, because you are already seeing the business ties growing substantially. I've been struck during the course of the last year by just how many people also talk to me about their growing business and investment interests and pursuits in Saudi Arabia and the opportunities that exist there. But I'm very conscious from my travels through the Middle East of that Indian influence. And so, as I indicated before, in that regional context with places like Nepal, Bangladesh, I think in a very different way, but but analogous.
Absolutely.
There are opportunities that we can benefit from with that type of partnering through those Middle East nations, including the UAE. Thank you.
With that, let me thank the Senator for a really insightful remarks and for graciously accepting some questions from the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now we move on to the next panel, which is on minerals, materials, and markets, the green transition action. I welcome moderator, my colleague John Cohen, to take us through with the panelists. Thank